Right, YouTube, I'm Shadow King Natsu, and let's do something that I haven't done in a hot minute, and talk about anime and manga. So, who's here is familiar with the Cthulhu mythos created by H.P. Lovecraft? For those who don't know, this Cthulhu mythos basically deals with cosmic horror in the sense that it deals with supernatural beings that have motives that are unknown and tend to be not very beneficial towards humanity, and there's pretty much nothing we can do about it because these deities are so powerful and so beyond our understanding that even if we so much as looked at one of their forms, especially their true forms, we would go insane and potentially die. Yeah, it's rather depressing. H.P. Lovecraft is a rather depressing person. But you gotta admit that it has influenced modern culture, especially in the horror department, influencing people like Neil Gaiman, Stephen King, and so many others. But you're probably wondering, what does this have to do with anime and manga? Well, like I said, it influenced a lot of things, including what we're going to talk about, Nyaruko-san. So Nyaruko-san basically starts off with this average high school teenager named Mahiro, who's being chased by one of the creatures from the Cthulhu mythos, which name I forget because there's so many of them and there's something kind of hard to pronounce. And he's being chased at it, and it's almost caught him, and he's asking for help, and he gets it in the help of a little girl with silver hair. I mean, not a little girl, some high school girl with silver hair, and who managed to kill the beast by stabbing it in the abdomen with her bare hand. And it turns out that the girl's name is Nyaruko, who is actually, her real name is Nyarlathotep. And any of you who are familiar with the Cthulhu mythos know that Nyarlathotep is the spawn of Azathoth, which is supposedly the creator god of the Cthulhu mythos. And people know that Nyarlathotep is a shapeshifter and tends to wreak havoc, which is fitting since Nyarlathotep's identity alias is known as the Crawling Chaos. And having done things like create cults, conflicting religions, pitted people against each other, and was responsible for helping humanity develop nuclear weapons and so many and so forth. So yeah, he's basically, Nyarlathotep basically meddles with humanity and tries to get them to conflict with each other for the sake of its own amusement, which sadly enough is also a good thing because Nyarlathotep is only keeping us around to keep it amused, and if it ever got bored, it could destroy us faster than the Dragon Ball character. So, yes, with Nyarlathotep, the being who has 1,000 faces, a lot of which can drive a person insane, decided to take the form of a schoolgirl. Why? Partly because this version of Nyarlathotep is not so much a chaotic god that wreaks havoc for his amusement, at least not most of the time. It's actually part of a planetary defense organization it was sent to protect Mahiro. And the secondary reason was because the minute Nyarlathotep saw what Mahiro looked like, Nyarlathotep fell in love with Mahiro. Yes, you heard that right. An outer god, beyond our understanding, with nigh omnipotent powers whose gender, well, it basically has no gender, fell in love with a high school character. I mean, that's pretty messed up, and but then again, that's pretty much the theme of the Cthulhu mythos, so I guess that's par for the course. Then again, I don't know how H.P. Lovecraft would have felt, because he wasn't very fond of sexual intercourse, even divorcing his wife because she wanted to have sex with him. He was a very messed up man. And that's not including those other things like being a racist, xenophobe. I'm not sure if he was sexist, but he was definitely racist and very xenophobic. Republicans' wet dream. But anyway, it basically deals with Nyarlathotep trying to gain the love of Mahiro. And along we get to see other gods like Cthulhu, or who takes the name of Kuko, and Hastur, who's supposed to be the Yellow King and the brother of Cthulhu. Who a lot of you probably would know, as you know, that giant 1/3 octopus, 1/3 dragon, 1/3 man thing that you see in pop culture every now and again. Cthulhu has a brother. And they all, to varying degrees, have an interest in Mahiro, and in Kuko's case, she also has a love interest in Nyarlathotep. Though Nyarlathotep isn't interested romantically in Kuko, and Mahiro is reluctant because, in the anime, he's aware of to an extent of the Cthulhu mythos, and just knows what kind of messed up things Nyarlathotep has done and what it looks like. Which basically, you know what? Go to Google Images and see what Nyarlathotep looks like. Okay, we'll give you a few seconds. Yeah, it's real messed up, huh? Have fun with that. So yeah, Mahiro isn't exactly keen on making out with some sort of tentacle god who could destroy humanity in an instant. So here's the funny thing, though. While there is a whole bunch of the anime, like 2 seasons worth, the manga is a bit trickier. While it has been said that the manga has been completed ever since 2014, the same year as around Rosario Vampire, it's hard to find anything past the first chapter online. I'm not sure why, but from what I've heard, it's because it's difficult to translate for fan translators because there's a lot of references to Japanese culture as well as the Cthulhu mythos. And unless you're well versed in that, you're going to have trouble translating it. So yeah. Another thing that needs to be brought up is that I have the strangest feeling that, much like the Rosario Vampire manga, and the manga of Nyaruko-san, Haiyore Nyaruko-san, is different from the anime. I feel, I can't really judge because I've only read the first chapter, but I have seen some differences. Like for one, we got to saw Nyaruko's journeying to Earth via a spaceship, though you figure a nigh omnipotent being could just teleport there, since that's one of Nyarlathotep's powers. It was also shown that Mahiro, as far as we know, is not very well versed in the Cthulhu mythos. He never even mentioned that he knew about Nyarlathotep, unlike in the anime where he did. There was also a bit where he stabs with a fork when Nyarlathotep tries to get a little too frisky with Mahiro, and he stabs her or it on the forehead, which is a running gag. And in the manga, he did it, but he immediately apologized because he just said it was just like he was just kind of in a spirit of rage. Where in the anime, Mahiro doesn't apologize, and it goes further with somewhat with the story in the anime, even going so far as taking on more monsters, and Nyaruko trying to sleep with Mahiro and have his babies. Yeah. Whereas the manga just focuses more on trying to understand the characters, how they interact, and give a little bit more exposition about what's going on. And Mahiro just trying to comprehend this whole thing and not trying to lose his sanity. And another difference is that, at least so far as based on the first chapter, is that the manga suggests that this is the very same Nyarlathotep from the Cthulhu mythos written by H.P. Lovecraft. And in the anime, while this Nyarlathotep is aware of H.P. Lovecraft's work on his story, he says that it's just an alien and not an actual god. And it's actually a whole race of the same being. So it's not just one being. Though the manga could say the same thing in later chapters, I'll have to see if I can actually find into some more chapters. Honestly, if you're into the animes trying to focus on the romance and side comedy, like how Rosario Vampire did, then I suppose this would be good for you. If you're expecting more of a plot, then it's kind of hard to recommend the anime, because you figured they would take the opportunity to explore more of the Cthulhu mythos and see what kind of interesting takes on it. Because like there was this one great bit where it's revealed that the outer gods and the other gods and all that from the Cthulhu mythos are so interested in humanity is because it turns out Earth is the greatest source of events for entertainment in the universe. Yeah, so it's pretty much as good as it gets in that department, and that's why they want to protect us, or at least exploit some of us. And it turns out there's a parody on Cthulhu and Hastur's rivalry, and it's done that Cthulhu turns out to be the owner of Microsoft, or at least some parody version of it, while Hastur owns Sony Computer Entertainment America, which means he would be in charge of the PlayStation. And they also kind of did the bit why the Xbox had its failure during the 360 era. 360 to Xbox One era. So, yeah, that was a little bit funny. But all in all, if I were to make a suggestion, I would say strongly go for the manga. I think it's trying to build up more of a plot and it's trying to take itself a bit more seriously than the anime did. But if you're just looking for like good entertainment with some comedic parody of the Cthulhu mythos, then I suppose you could watch the anime. This even makes a lot of parodies of anime like Attack on Titan, Dragon Ball, One Piece, Death Note, Gundam, Kamen Rider, Power Rangers, and so many other things. So those are all my thoughts. Have you seen Haiyore Nyaruko-san? Or not? Does it seem like something you'd be interested in? Let me know in the comment section below. I'll catch you guys later.